Welcome, it's Michael Murray here at Benzinga for the 2023 Fintech Deal Day in New York City. Matt from Business Credit Consultants joining us here. Matt, it's a pleasure to have you, man.
Pleasure to be sitting here with you, Michael. Excited.
Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Kick us off by explaining to us exactly what BCC is and what you guys do.
Absolutely. So we're, to some degree, a digital financial business consulting practice. And what we do is we service small business owners. So you think from $500,000 in annual revenue up to $10 million, and we serve clients above that. But we partner with many banks across the nation. We understand what their appetites are, the banks. And the reality is, Michael, these small business owners, they're not walking into branches anymore. And so we're twofold solving the small business owner's problem, which is access to capital in a volatile time,
For sure.
as well as the banks, that they need the clients.
Yeah.
And we understand what their appetite for clients are. And so we've developed all this breakthrough tech that hasn't been seen before. We're leveraging generative AI. We're using machine learning to predict outcomes so that when we send a client to the bank, we know that they have an appetite, an interest.
For sure.
So we're bringing efficiency to an archaic industry that lacks technology, Michael.
That makes sense. So what does the process look like when you guys kick off with a new client, right? A bank, a partner that needs funding, whatever that is.
Yeah.
What does the process look like step by step for getting started and consulting them into what they need to be doing?
Absolutely, and this is it's a multifaceted answer because there's a component of accounting and understanding that you need to show maybe a certain degree of earnings, and there's different product sets. So we identify as little documentation as possible. Everyone knows, in the industry or not, the SBA is arduous. You hear the word SBA, everyone knows it's a lot of documentation,
Right.
It's a long process. What we've done is try to utilize as little documentation as possible to satisfy the request. So that we begin with a conversation. It's a consultation in the truest sense.
Yeah.
We're holistically looking at the business, we're understanding how the accountant has showed earnings, and we're understanding what they qualify for.
Right.
And we're trying to meet their direct needs. And then from there, as opposed to what SBA is, they want the whole world up front, whether you qualify or not. We know what you qualify for, and we're going to make sure we're only asking for what you need.
For sure. So let's touch on maybe the volatility in the industry for a little bit, right? Well, you guys, coming from the funding perspective, I think you might have a better feel, almost than anybody else, for the challenges that small businesses are facing. What does the industry look like? What are the volatility items that have really kind of been making the industry difficult?
I agree with you, Michael. And just last weekend, we had another collapse. It's been a year of collapses. It's a bank crisis. It's a credit crunch.
Yeah.
And it was actually an out-of-state transportation portfolio which caused the harm on the collapse last weekend.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm helping small business owners in the transportation space today, right now, as I'm speaking with you.
Yeah.
Because we understand what banks have appetite for, or what they're still lending to. Just understanding the credit boxes. It's a different time.
Yeah.
We look back a year, rates, it's an extremely different rate environment. But understanding how to navigate the waters, because that small business owner still needs that capital to grow.
Right.
And whether it's transportation, which we've seen a retraction in construction, and some of these other areas that are hard to fund now, we know how to navigate the waters to still help these people who need it.
Absolutely. So looking ahead then into 2024, what do you want to see from your perspective at BCC to happen in the markets, happen in the industry, happen politically or with rates? What's an ideal scenario that you would want to see changes for to lead us to a better economic place in 2024?
Absolutely. I would like to see from banks specifically, it's more adoption of tech. We are scared and fearful at times in the banking sector, and that's what we're able to, as an intermediary, we're not bound by legacy systems. These big banks are.
Sure.
I would like to see more adoption of tech to simplify the process for clients.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, going back to the SBA example, these clients need help, and they run for the hills when there's that lack of adoption.
Yeah.
And so we go into lending and rates in government, the side of the policy. We hope that rates go down so that the cost of capital is lesser for the client. Will or not, I'm not going to sit here and predict and act as if I know it's going to come. But we'd all, I think, in the small business owner's perspective, would like lower rates, we'd like an easier, more simplistic process, and we'd like these banks to adopt and be more nimble and maybe more open to the consultants like us.
Sure.
Because at times, there's a negative connotation, where the reality is we know the credit box is better than they do many times.
For sure. Yeah, that makes sense. So for anybody that wants to work with BCC, needs your services and wants to get started, what's the best way to reach out and start working with you guys?
Absolutely, bccusa.com, as in Business Credit Consultants, USA.com. And then we have a whole technology engine, like I said, that's predicting outcomes. We're going to consult. We're going to make sure that your accountant's doing the right job by you. You're still reducing tax liability, but getting the outcome you're seeking. bccusa.com.
Wonderful. Matt, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you for what you're doing in the industry. Can't wait to see what you guys do next.
Thank you, Michael. And thanks to all the Benzinga team.